At the start of the tale, we see a girl getting ready because she had to go somewhere. Now she steps out and locks the house. And while waiting for the elevator to open, she begins hearing noises from below. To investigate, when she looks down, a strange woman stood there, who suddenly lifts her head and starts staring up at the girl. This frightened the girl so much that she returns to her house, and from inside she locked the door. But we knew she wasn't an ordinary woman, because she had stood below and seen the girl's house, and now she smashes the door with one blow and enters. Now the girl was so terrified that she hides in the wardrobe. She saw that the strange woman had entered her house. The girl began watching her, and then suddenly, that woman vanished from there, because now she was standing right behind the girl, which made us realize she was also very powerful. Before the girl could grasp anything, the strange woman grabs her throat and drags her away into the darkness. And in this darkness, she blended with her, and this scene ends here. Now let's look at a time a few days later, where a boy named Andrew had come to meet a girl for some task because that girl had a unique ability, like she could alter people's thoughts and read someone's mind. And Andrew had come to her for such a task. He now begins explaining his issue, that I want to regain my wife's love. He says that once some thugs broke into my house forcefully, who began mistreating my wife. They started hitting me too. But here, instead of protecting my wife, I fled from there and went to the neighbor's house to seek help, because I didn't know what to do. I was scared. Now before this, the thugs could have harmed my wife. I returned with the neighbors. That's why the thugs had to flee. But this event had a very bad impact on my wife because she lost her child in that way. Actually, at that time, she was about to become a mother. She blames me for what happened. Now, no doubt, she lives with me, but there's no love between us as husband and wife, and my wife is troubled by that event. Now here, the girl Andrew had come to meet, whose name was Mara, says, "Just be quiet. You've said enough, okay? There's no need to explain everything." Andrew says that I want my wife to completely forget that day's event, so our relationship is like before, and we start a new life happily. To which Mara responds, "Do this, be patient for a while. Give her time to recover. Keep reassuring yourself. Who knows, she might improve. But if nothing changes, come back to me. I'll help you." Now Andrew felt uneasy here. He says, "No, I've changed my mind. I don't need your help. I'll try to fix my problem myself." After saying this, he leaves. Now Andrew bought flowers for his wife. He expresses his affection saying, "My dear, I love you so much," he explains to her lovingly. "Forget the past in that event. I regret my mistake, I apologize to you." But these words never affect his wife. She doesn't respond properly. She says a few things and leaves. This made him very sad, and now he had no choice but to seek Mara's help. That's why he returned to her. There, Mara gives him a special type of mushroom, which is a plant, and she says, "Mix it in some food and give it to your wife. As soon as she eats it, she'll forget all the past forever. This will fix everything. Now I'll do your task. But in return, you must do one of my tasks. I'm actually going out of town for a few months. Then you'll have to look after my mushrooms, because they're a special kind, very dear to me. Every month, a man will come to check these mushrooms. So tell me, do you agree?" Now this condition seemed very simple to Andrew. That's why he agrees immediately. The next day he mixes the mushroom into a cake for his wife to eat, and he places it on the table and goes inside, because he wasn't sure if it would work. But as soon as she ate the cake, Andrew's wife came to him, and she begins talking to him affectionately. And then she says the words Andrew had longed to hear for years, which he himself wanted. Namely, his wife says, "I want to forget everything and start a new life with you, because I've forgiven you, but yes, I don't want to live in this house anymore, because I feel trapped here." Andrew was already overjoyed because his wife was like before, so he agrees to this too, and decides to live with her in Mara's house, because per the condition, he also had to care for the mushrooms. So when he came to Mara's house, Andrew's wife liked it a lot. But he noticed that the cupboards were often locked. But this didn't matter to his wife. She happily decides to live here. Now a few days passed very well for them. They spent joyful times laughing, but then odd things start happening to them. Like his wife began feeling someone was secretly watching her. It was none other than those same thugs. Because although she had forgotten that event, The trauma was still in her mind. Now, along with her, Andrew also began seeing strange things. Like he often saw a child who repeatedly tried to warn him of danger, telling him that Mara wants to trap you, so leave here as soon as possible. He had just started seeing a horse in the house, which would disappear after nearing Mara. Now, seeing all this, Andrew doesn't understand what's happening. That's why he calls Mara and tells her about it, to which she says, "Don't worry, these are just side effects of the mushroom your wife ate. And because you're her husband, you're seeing these things too." She insists there's nothing real about it, but what she said wasn't true, because one morning, while they were sleeping, an unknown man enters and stands in their room. Seeing him, Andrew's wife opened her eyes. She immediately wakes her husband. Andrew wakes up and tells the man to leave the room. "I'll come out and talk to you." Now, this old man was none other than the one Mara said would come to check the mushrooms monthly. Now here, Andrew insults him. "What kind of odd man are you? You entered our room boldly. You shouldn't have done that." The old man, who was very strange, says, "My task is done, brother. Now I'm leaving, and I'll return next month." Saying this, he left. When Andrew returns to his wife, he comforts her. "Relax, he's gone." Now the next day, when Andrew was at work and his wife was alone at home, she began feeling uneasy at home. She didn't feel safe. She started getting scared. So she went to Andrew's office and waited for him. When he came out, he was happy to see his wife. He was also very surprised. And now the two return home and spend a wonderful time together. Now, when Andrew went to the office the next day, his wife began feeling uneasy at home again. This time, she heard a child crying. Hearing this sound, she thought of her child. She felt strange. Without thinking, she calls her husband. She says, "Now we should think about a child too." And then she hung up. When Andrew came home from the office, he sees his wife sitting on the floor in a very odd state. His wife was unclothed, very upset, and crying. Now Andrew quickly comes and covers her with a blanket. But she was out of control because now somehow she remembered everything. She got angry at Andrew. "Why didn't you save me that day?" She starts hitting her hands and feet wildly. "Why did you do that? Why did you flee in fear?" And she starts crying. Even now, Andrew doesn't know what to do. He calms her and hugs her. She didn't understand how she remembered everything. He calls Mara, but her number was disconnected. He then asks his friend about Mara, who had referred him to her. His friend says, "I learned about Mara from an online post. I don't know her personally because we never met." Hearing this, Andrew now decides to meet the house's owner to get information about Mara. But after investigating, a woman tells him that the owner is Mara, who bought this house in 1948. And the girl named Mara living here is the same Mara. Now hearing this, Andrew's head spins. He couldn't understand what was happening. How is this possible? I mean, where is this house of Mara? And the time this woman mentions is 1948. That's long ago. So is our world that vast? And even if it is, how could that young woman appear? But there was no time to ponder these things. Now he was worried about his wife, so he goes where her treatment was happening. Now his wife also refuses to recognize him because she had forgotten everything about him. It seemed the side effect had grown so much that her memory was gone. Not only that, but she was wearing Mara's favorite red dress. It looked like his wife was now fully under Mara's control. When Andrew returned home from there, Mara's room was open. He was very surprised to see it, because since they came here, that room was locked. But thinking about it, he didn't consider that maybe his wife had opened it, because he had taken clothes from there. And now he begins exploring the room where he finds some photos of Mara. In them was the old man who came to check the mushrooms. Now he felt uneasy here, so he moves the wardrobe and looks. Behind it was a hidden passage. Upon entering, Andrew arrived in another room where he finds items of an army officer, like uniforms and caps. There were some documents here too. Looking at them, Andrew tried to understand what they were. That's when the same girl appears, who he had seen before. Here the girl shows him a photo. In it, Mara is sitting on a horse, and according to her, some soldiers are killing innocent people, including Mara's father. Now Andrew was very nervous to see that Mara is such a dangerous woman, so the girl cautiously brings him a bow. Now Andrew asks the girl what all this was. The girl reveals the main thing. Mara is actually a witch. That's why she's lived for so many years and is still young. She trapped you here. Now do this. Leave this place and then return later. And yes, find your wife. Take her with you." Listening to this, Andrew does so. He began searching for his wife everywhere, but she was nowhere to be found, which means she was missing somewhere. This was Mara's doing. So now Andrew tries to learn more about Mara online, but then he remembers that old man. He thinks, "I saw his photo in Mara's room, standing near a tower." So now Andrew researches that tower online and reaches it. There he finds the old man after searching, but his condition didn't look good. He traps Andrew with his words and lures him inside, and then he knocks him out with an electric shock. When Andrew opened his eyes, he found himself in a car where the old man was taking him somewhere. Andrew asks, "What do you want? And where are you taking me?" The old man replies that Mara has held my wife captive, and now I'll free my wife from Mara using you. Here we learn that this old man's wife was the one we saw at the start, taken by that strange woman, which means that strange woman was none other than Mara, who had changed her form and came there. Now the old man reveals the most important thing. He says Mara is a witch who picks people to ensnare in her web, those living with regret. Like I was chosen because I used to beat my wife a lot. When drunk, I regretted that too. And taking advantage of this, Mara trapped me and my wife. After this, the old man brought Andrew to a strange place where there were many glowing mushrooms on the walls. And in those mushrooms, the old man's wife was chained, looking very weak. The man tells his wife not to worry. "Today, in exchange for this man, I'll free you from here." Hearing this, his wife was sad, because to save her life, she didn't want to endanger someone else's life. But she was helpless. She had to do this. Now here, Mara emerges from a strange car and goes to Andrew and says that soon your wife is coming here. After which we see Andrew's wife, terrified, who was fleeing. Actually, there were thugs chasing her. When the thugs arrived, Mara kills the old man's wife, and then with her dangerous magic, she begins transforming the man and turns him into a horse. The man began to suffer, after which she locks this room and leaves. Now after a while, Andrew's wife escaped the thugs and came here, very scared. Here we learn she hadn't gone anywhere else, but she was in Mara's house, where now, finally, Andrew's wife arrives as Mara had said. Andrew tries to calm her, but she sees a thug in her husband. This scared her so much that she jumped out the window and took her life. Andrew was shocked to see her, because he couldn't do anything. Then he goes down to see her body, where he learned it wasn't his wife, but the old man's wife, whom Mara had killed. But to trap Andrew, she threw the old man's wife's body instead of his wife's. So everyone thought Andrew had pushed her. This got him trapped. Police arrest him and take him away. The truth was, his wife hadn't been there. She was just under Mara's and Andrew's care. Now, even after humiliating him so much, Mara's heart wasn't satisfied, and she bails Andrew out. He was freed and went to Mara's house, where the whole house was open. And now Andrew returns to that strange room where she was the queen of glowing mushrooms. Here he sees a hole. He jumps into it because he felt it was his wife. Because last time Mara came out of this and appeared before him. But now, after emerging from the hole, Andrew arrives in a different time, which seemed very ancient. He began looking around curiously. He sees a house ahead with lights on, so he starts heading there. But here too, that little girl appears and stops him and takes him to a farm with her. She shows Andrew a photo again, so he can understand Mara's story and what happened to him. So we think this is 1948, when she was a young girl, where some soldiers attacked Mara's village because they wanted to take all the villagers' horses, but the villagers refused because this would end their livelihood. Their daily bread would be taken, so all the villagers begged them not to do this. The soldiers make a deal: give us Mara, and we'll take only half the horses. Now all the villagers, even her father, agreed to this deal, so the soldiers took Mara with them. Along with that, they let half the horses and half the villagers stay, after which they brought Mara to the house where she lives now. And there, she was tortured greatly. Because of this, Mara was very angry, and she decided to seek revenge on her villagers. For this, she learned dark magic and became a witch. And then with this magic, she controlled all the soldiers and made them attack the villagers and killed everyone, including her father. And now, because she had become a witch due to her evil nature, she trapped many married couples, after which she would kill them. From the couples, she would brutally beat the woman, and then turn the husband into a horse with her dangerous powers. Andrew began heading toward that house again, where his wife and Mara lived. His wife came out, but she tells him to flee from there, because she knew everything. Mara had told her that your husband loves you greatly, and because of you, he came to me. He cares for you, but he doesn't leave. Instead, he enters the house, where Mara was sitting in front. She was thrilled to see Andrew. She says, "Come, come. I was waiting for you. Let me save her. I came, but now I'll test your love here. If you succeed, I'll let you go." To which Andrew agrees, and then Mara sends him to the same moment when the thugs entered his house and were mistreating his wife. But this time, he doesn't flee. He tries to fight them. He attacks one with a knife, but one of them stabs him with a knife and injures him. His condition became very bad, and he could only watch the mistreatment of his wife, unable to act. Then Mara comes to him and says that if you want, this can stop. You don't have to do much, just eat that mushroom. But by now, Andrew had realized that none of this was real. In fact, Mara is trying to trap me by making it seem real. So he immediately breaks free from the vision and tells his wife to escape from here. But by then, Mara had attacked both of them, and she was beating them severely. And because Mara cherished her mushrooms, which she created with her dangerous powers, Andrew's wife sets them on fire. Seeing this, Mara was terrified. As she rushed to extinguish the fire, they seized the chance. Both escaped from that house where the fire had now spread widely all around. And now that little girl helps them escape from there and returns to that house, locks the door, and with Mara, burns and perishes. Now here we learn that that little girl was actually Mara's childhood self, her soul, and because she was young Mara, a child, her heart was pure. That's why she always wanted to save Andrew and his wife. So now to save them completely, she sacrificed herself, burned with Mara too. There, Andrew and his wife escaped through that hole. Here, he was badly injured. His throat hurt. His wife cries a lot, and now she had forgiven him. And here, forgetting everything, decides to start a happy life. Her life should truly improve now, and now she won't need to rely on people like Mara, who would exploit her. His wife, supporting Andrew, began leaving this place, and with this joyful ending, the story ends here.